Welcome to CEO's Library, the 1% bookshelf. I'm your host, and today we're diving into a game-changing method that could revolutionize the way you think and make decisions. Imagine if you could boost your team's productivity by 493% with one simple technique. Sounds too good to be true, right? Well, that's exactly what happened when a group of senior civil servants applied the method we're about to explore. We're talking about Edward de Bono's 6 Thinking Hats, a powerful framework that has transformed decision-making processes in boardrooms, classrooms, and government offices around the world. From tech giants like Microsoft and IBM to oil companies like Shell and BP, organizations across various sectors have harnessed the power of this method to enhance their thinking and problem-solving capabilities. But before we put on our thinking hats, let's take a moment to understand why we need a new approach to thinking in the first place. In our fast-paced, complex world, the traditional Western style of thinking, based on argument and debate, often falls short. It's like trying to navigate a bustling city with a map from the 1800s. Sure, you might eventually reach your destination, but you'll waste a lot of time and energy in the process. Edward de Bono recognized this problem and developed the 6 Thinking Hats as a solution. This method is all about parallel thinking, a concept that might sound abstract at first, but is actually quite simple and intuitive once you understand it. Imagine you're standing in front of a beautiful country house with 3 other people. Each of you is positioned at a different side of the house. Now, if you all start arguing about whose view of the house is correct, you'll never reach a consensus. But what if, instead, you all walked around the house together, looking at each side in turn? That's parallel thinking in a nutshell. Everyone looks in the same direction at the same time, exploring all aspects of an issue together rather than getting stuck in an argument. This approach offers numerous benefits. First and foremost, it dramatically increases efficiency. Remember that 493% productivity boost we mentioned earlier? That's not an isolated incident. Corporations like ABB have reported reducing their multinational project team discussions from 30 days to just 2 days using the 6 Thinking Hats method. Imagine what you could achieve with all that extra time. But the benefits go beyond just saving time. The 6 Thinking Hats method also improves the quality of thinking. It allows teams to thoroughly explore all aspects of an issue, from cold hard facts to gut feelings, from potential pitfalls to creative solutions. This comprehensive approach leads to better decisions and more innovative ideas. Moreover, this method has a unique way of neutralizing ego-driven behaviors that often derail productive discussions. By providing a framework where everyone gets a chance to wear each hat, it prevents any one person from dominating the conversation or pushing their agenda at the expense of others. Now that we understand why the 6 Thinking Hats method is so powerful, let's dive into what these hats actually are and how they work. Picture 6 different colored hats: white, red, black, yellow, green, and blue. Each of these hats represents a different mode of thinking. When we put on a particular hat, either literally or figuratively, we adopt that specific thinking style. It's like changing the channel on your mental television. Suddenly, you're tuned into a different frequency of thought. Let's start with the white hat. Think of it as the hat of facts and information. When you wear the white hat, you focus solely on the available data. What do we know? What information is missing? What questions do we need to ask to fill in the gaps? It's about being as neutral and objective as possible, like a computer processing data. For example, if your team is considering launching a new product, the white hat thinking might involve looking at market research data, production costs, and competitor analysis. It's not about interpreting this information or forming opinions. That comes later. The white hat is all about gathering and presenting the facts. Next, we have the red hat. This is the hat of emotions, intuitions, and gut feelings. In traditional business settings, we're often encouraged to keep our emotions out of decision-making. But de Bono recognized that emotions play a crucial role in our thinking, whether we acknowledge them or not. The red hat gives us permission to express our feelings about an issue without having to justify or explain them. Imagine you're in a meeting discussing a potential merger. Someone wearing the red hat might say, "I have a bad feeling about this deal. I can't explain why, but something doesn't feel right." In many meetings, such a statement might be dismissed as irrelevant, but under the 6 Thinking Hats framework, this intuition is recognized as valuable input. Now, let's move on to the black hat. This is probably the most familiar mode of thinking for many of us. It's the hat of caution and critical judgment. When wearing the black hat, we look for potential problems, risks, and drawbacks. Why might this idea fail? What are the logical flaws in this argument? The black hat is crucial for identifying and mitigating risks. However, in many traditional discussions, people tend to overuse this mode of thinking, shooting down ideas before they've had a chance to develop. By isolating black hat, thinking to specific periods in the discussion, the six thinking hats method ensures that critical thinking is used constructively rather than destructively. The yellow hat is the opposite of the black hat. It's the hat of optimism and positive thinking. When wearing the yellow hat, we look for benefits and opportunities. How could this idea work? What are the potential advantages? This mode of thinking requires effort for many people, as our brains are naturally wired to spot dangers rather than opportunities. But cultivating this ability to see the positive potential in ideas is crucial for innovation and progress. For instance, when Kodak decided to enter the instant camera market, a yellow hat thinker might have said, "This could increase public awareness of instant photography overall, potentially boosting our sales if consumers perceive our product as superior." The green hat is all about creativity and new ideas. This is where we generate alternatives, explore possibilities, and think outside the box. The green hat gives us permission to put forward provocative ideas without fear of immediate criticism. It's about quantity over quality, generating as many ideas as possible without judging them. A useful technique under the green hat is the concept of movement instead of judgment. Rather than immediately assessing whether an idea is good or bad, we ask, where does this idea lead us? For example, someone might suggest, what if we made square hamburgers? Instead of dismissing this as absurd, we might consider how it leads to ideas about distinctive product shapes or more efficient packaging. Finally, we have the blue hat. This is the hat of process control and big picture thinking. The blue hat is like the conductor of an orchestra, managing the thinking process itself. It's typically worn by the facilitator of a meeting, who decides which hat to use when, and ensures that all aspects of an issue are explored. The blue hat is also used at the beginning of a thinking session to define the focus and desired outcome, and at the end to summarize conclusions and next steps. It's about metacognition, thinking about thinking. Now that we understand what each hat represents, let's explore how to implement this method in real-world situations. The beauty of the six thinking hats is its flexibility. You can use it in formal meetings, informal discussions, or even in your personal thinking process. The key is to clearly separate different modes of thinking rather than jumping between them haphazardly. In a meeting setting, you might start with the blue hat to set the agenda and define the problem you're trying to solve. Then, you might move to the white hat to gather all relevant facts and information. Next, you could use the green hat to generate potential solutions, followed by the yellow and black hats to evaluate these ideas. The red hat could be used at various points to check in on how people are feeling about different options. Finally, you'd return to the blue hat to summarize conclusions and decide on next steps. For example, let's say your company is deciding whether to launch a new product. You might start with blue hat thinking to clarify the decision you need to make. We need to decide whether to launch product X by the end of Q3. Then, you'd move to white hat thinking, what are our current market share and financial projections? What do we know about customer demand for this type of product? Next, you might use the green hat to brainstorm different launch strategies. Then, you'd evaluate these strategies using the yellow hat. What are the potential benefits of each approach? And the black hat. What could go wrong? What are the risks? Throughout the process, you might pause for red hat moments to gauge how people are feeling about different options. And you'd use the blue hat to keep the discussion on track and summarize key points. Now, one of the great advantages of this method is that it allows everyone to contribute in each thinking mode. Instead of having one person play devil's advocate while another pushes for action, everyone gets a chance to be cautious, optimistic, creative, and objective. This not only leads to more comprehensive thinking, but also reduces interpersonal conflict. Of course, implementing a new thinking method isn't without its challenges. Some people might feel uncomfortable expressing emotions in a business setting, while others might struggle to generate creative ideas on demand. The key is to create a safe environment where all contributions are valued, and to practice using the hats regularly. It's also important to remember that the six thinking hats is a tool, not a rigid rule. You don't need to use all 6 hats in every discussion, and you don't always need to use them in a specific order. The method is meant to enhance your thinking, not constrain it. One powerful way to use the hats is to deliberately switch perspectives. If a discussion is getting bogged down in negativity, you might say, "Let's take off our black hats for a moment and put on our yellow hats. What are the potential benefits we might be overlooking?" This simple shift can completely change the dynamic of a conversation. Another effective technique is to use the hats for individual reflection before a group discussion. For example, you might ask everyone to spend 5 minutes doing green hat thinking on their own, writing down any ideas that come to mind before sharing with the group. This can lead to a wider range of ideas and prevent the discussion from being dominated by the loudest voices. The 6 thinking hats method can be particularly useful in situations where there's potential for conflict. By focusing on parallel thinking rather than argumentation, it allows different perspectives to be explored without turning into a debate. This can be especially valuable in cross-cultural settings, where different communication styles might otherwise lead to misunderstandings. For instance, in many Asian cultures, direct disagreement is seen as impolite. The 6 thinking hats provides a framework where concerns can be raised under the black hat without being perceived as personal criticism. Similarly, in Western contexts where devil's advocate thinking is common, the method ensures that positive aspects, yellow hat, and creative alternatives, green hat, get equal airtime. It's worth noting that while the 6 thinking hats is often used in group settings, it's equally valuable for individual thinking. When faced with a complex decision, you can systematically work through each hat, ensuring you've considered all aspects of the issue. This can help overcome common cognitive biases and lead to more balanced decision-making. For example, if you're considering a career change, you might start with the white hat to gather all relevant facts about different options. Then, use the green hat to brainstorm possibilities you hadn't considered. The yellow and black hats help you weigh the pros and cons of each option. The red hat allows you to tune into your emotions and intuitions about different paths. Finally, the blue hat helps you synthesize all this information and decide on next steps. One of the most powerful aspects of the 6 thinking hats method is how it can change organizational culture over time. As teams become more comfortable with the different thinking modes, they often find that their overall quality of thinking improves, even outside of formal 6 hats sessions. People become more aware of their habitual thinking patterns and more adept at consciously shifting between different modes of thought. They might catch themselves getting stuck in black hat thinking and consciously switch to the yellow or green hat. Or they might realize they're making a decision based purely on gut feeling, red hat, and decide to gather more factual information, white hat, before proceeding. This increased metacognitive awareness can lead to more nuanced, comprehensive thinking throughout an organization. It can also improve communication as people become more adept at recognizing and articulating different aspects of their thinking. Moreover, the 6 thinking hats method can be a powerful tool for innovation. By ensuring that creative thinking, green hat, is given dedicated time and space, and by providing a framework for constructively evaluating new ideas, alternating between yellow and black hats, the method can help organizations become more innovative. Many companies have used the 6 thinking hats to break out of established patterns and generate breakthrough ideas. For instance, a manufacturing company might use the method to reimagine their production process, or a service company might use it to design a new customer experience. The 6 thinking hats can also be valuable in crisis management situations. In high-pressure scenarios, it's easy for teams to get stuck in reactive, negative thinking. By consciously cycling through all 6 hats, teams can ensure they're considering all aspects of the situation, from hard data to creative solutions to emotional impacts. As we wrap up our exploration of the 6 thinking hats, let's recap the key takeaways. First, the method provides a structured approach to thinking that separates different modes of thought. This allows for more comprehensive exploration of issues and more balanced decision-making. Second, by promoting parallel thinking rather than argumentative thinking, the 6 hats method can lead to more productive discussions and better team collaboration. Third, the method is flexible and can be applied in a wide range of contexts, from formal business meetings to personal decision-making. Fourth, regular use of the 6 thinking hats can lead to improved metacognitive skills, enhancing overall quality of thinking even outside of formal 6 hats sessions. Finally, the method can be a powerful tool for fostering innovation and managing complex or high-pressure situations. So, how can you start implementing the 6 thinking hats in your own life and work? Here are a few suggestions. Start small. You don't need to overhaul your entire thinking process overnight. Begin by consciously using 1 or 2 hats in your next meeting, or when facing your next decision. Practice using the hats in low-stakes situations. This will help you become more comfortable with the method before applying it to critical decisions. Introduce the concept to your team gradually. You might start by explaining the method and then using just 1 or 2 hats in your next team discussion. Use visual cues. Some teams find it helpful to have actual colored hats or cards to signal which thinking mode they're in. Be patient. Like any new skill, using the 6 thinking hats effectively takes practice. Don't get discouraged if it feels awkward at first. Remember, the goal of the 6 thinking hats is not to restrict your thinking, but to enhance it. It's a tool to help you think more clearly, creatively, and comprehensively. As Edward de Bono said, the main difficulty of thinking is confusion. We try to do too much at once. Emotions, information, logic, hope, and creativity all crowd in on us. It is like juggling with too many balls. The 6 thinking hats allows us to juggle these balls more effectively, leading to better decisions, more innovative ideas, and more productive collaborations. So, why not give it a try? In your next meeting, or when facing your next big decision, consciously put on different thinking hats. You might be surprised at the new perspectives you discover and the insights you gain. Thank you for joining us on this exploration of Edward de Bono's 6 thinking hats. Remember, the power to think more effectively is within your grasp. All you need to do is put on the right hat. Until next time, keep thinking and keep growing. And don't forget, if you want to dive deeper into the 6 thinking hats method, you can find a link to purchase the book on Amazon in the episode description. The full transcript of this episode, along with accompanying visualizations, is available at ceoslibrary.com. Happy thinking!